what's up everybody, Chris here, and tonight I was thumbing through Netflix and Hulu and just trying to find something to watch, and I decided to visit Vudu. And I don't often rent movies on Vudu very much, but I was looking at some of the options there and playing the Gerard Butler film that's about an airplane, as the name would imply. And yes, the name is completely terrible, but I gotta tell you, this movie took me by surprise. I saw that it had great reviews on places like Rotten Tomatoes, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I think it was something like $5.99 to rent. You know, it's sort of a gamble with movies like this that are kind of, presumably lowbrow action affairs, but this actually was much better than I expected. Hey, as always, if you're enjoying the content, please do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up, please be sure to subscribe, and as always, I very much appreciate your viewership. So really, I'm late to the party on this one. This movie's been out for several months now, finally made it to home digital release, so I decided to dive into it and check it out, but I guess it's better to be delayed than canceled, because I have plain jokes. And right from the beginning, this film takes off. I promise I'm going to keep the plain jokes to a minimum. And it's smooth sailing from there on out from an action story perspective. So one of the things that I love about this movie, and I'm not going to get too deep into spoilers, is that it has one of the best plane crash sequences that I can remember in a film. Maybe something like Castaway is sort of on par with what you get in this, but even this feels slightly more realistic. There's a good attention to detail, or a good amount of attention to detail that's included here that I really appreciate. It doesn't feel overly hammy or hockey in the way that the situation unfolds, where this pilot, played by Gerard Butler, has to land a plane over what he presumes is going to be water, but he manages to find sort of an isolated island. And as he's gliding down in the dark, because of his electronics have been fried because of a lightning storm, he sees a road, just sort of a dirt road that he's able to take the plane down on. And this is a large passenger plane. So again, it's kind of miraculous that he's able to do that. And from a realism point of view, in terms of the actual landing, I don't know. The way they played it out made it seem kind of real to me, at least believable enough to work for the plot of the film. But of course, they land on an island that is overtaken by, I guess they describe them as separatists, but basically they're these militia-type insurgents that are there, and they're going to try to use these passengers on this plane and the captain and everybody else that's sort of in that sphere as hostages to demand money for ransom. Meanwhile, the airline company decides to send in sort of its own unit to get them out. And so what sort of plays out is sort of this interesting dynamic that's kind of reminiscent in some ways of Die Hard, actually. If you could imagine Die Hard in the air, it's kind of like that a little bit, in that, Gerard Butler is cast into a situation he doesn't really want to be in, but all the while there's also a prisoner on board, and the officer who is escorting the prisoner gets killed as the plane sort of lands. People get out of their seats stupidly, as they should not do, and in the turbulence, people break their necks and get thrown around with the plane. But as it turns out, the prisoner is not such a bad guy, teams up with Butler to help kind of stave off these insurgents and to take back the passengers that eventually are taken for ransom. And then, things sort of play out from there. But again, the action here is super well crafted. It doesn't shy away from some gritty, kind of brutal stuff. I would say, too, that the way it ends is probably the most unbelievable part. But again, it's close enough to believability that you can temporarily suspend that disbelief and just sort of go with it, right? And so I thought it was a really enjoyable action movie. Would I rent it again for $6? Probably. I had a good time with it, which is more than I can say for a lot of the movies that I've seen as of late. So yes, I very much enjoyed it. It's actually one that if I see it on sale on Blu-ray or maybe even a 4K Blu-ray disc, I would probably pick it up, because it's totally one of those movies that I would just sort of pop on in the background while I'm cleaning the house, doing work from home, that sort of thing, and would just really enjoy revisiting it. So anyway, if you've seen Plane, what did you think about it? Did you think it soared to new heights, or did you think it crashed and burned because I had to work in some other plane jokes there, or plane references where I could? Again, the title's terrible. I don't know what I would have called it. I don't know if Layover would have been a good alternative title. Maybe something with a little more specificity to it than Plane. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. If you've seen Plane, let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching.